Welcome, algebra students. We are going to learn in chapter 3 how to apply all of those equations that we just learned how to solve. So in chapter 2, we spent time solving equations and finding an answer. Now we're going to apply that. When are times that you might use that? So our first instance would be if we were finding the area or the perimeter of something, we would do that. We would use equations and solve them. So for area, we are going to look at 3 different shapes. We're going to look at the area of a square, a rectangle, and a triangle. So let's look at what the equations are for each of those. A square, because it has 4 sides and they're all the same, I'm going to take each one of these sides, side 1 and side 2, and I can just square that. So that's my equation. A equals S squared. Anytime I see a square and I have to find the area, I'm going to take my S, plug it in, and solve from there. Rectangles are a little bit different, and you probably know the equation for area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width, which is why the area of a square works, because it's just your length times your width. But it's the same, so we can just square the number. Okay? And now let's look at a triangle. So triangles, if you take half this triangle and you add it over to the other side. So I took this, I took it in half, and I added it to this side over here. That looks very much like a square, right? Let's look at the other triangle. It's easier to see. So here I have taken this triangle here, and I redraw it, and I redrew it here. And now what shape does that make? It makes a square. So we're going to use the equation of a square, area equals length times width, but we're going to split that in half because that's what we did here in the picture. That triangle, there's 2 triangles in every square. So we're going to take this area of a rectangle and we're going to square it, okay? Or we're going to half it. I'm sorry, we're going to half it. And this is another way to write it. So there's 2 different ways we can write it. They're exactly the same equation. We can do length times width over 2, or we can do 1/2 of length times width. Okay? Whoops. All right, moving on. When we are measuring area, we are using it for insides of shapes. Wrapping paper, tablecloth, book cover, surface of a table. So if we're working in an industry where we're making surfaces, we need to know the area of that surface. If we're working in carpets or paint or things like that, we are covering things. We're finding the units squared, and our unit is always in unit squared. Okay, I always, whatever the unit is, inches, centimeters. If there is no unit, we just write unit, and we always have it squared. Okay? All right, let's talk perimeter now. Perimeter is a little bit different. You have seen perimeter before, and when we're looking at the perimeter of something, we're taking all 4 of those sides, and we're basically adding them up. So in a square, because all the sides are equal, we can just do 4 times S. In a rectangle, we're going to add them all up. So we've got 2 lengths plus 2 widths, or if we wanted to make it a little bit more compact, we can do P equals 2L plus 2W. Okay? If we're looking at a triangle, we are simply adding up all the sides. S1 means side 1, S2 means side 2, S3 means side 3. Like area was covering surfaces and finding the inside. Perimeter is a little bit different. The word peri, or the prefix peri, means around, and the word meter means measure. So we are measuring around a shape, a door frame, a fence, the outside trim of the whiteboard, or a frame, or things like that. And our unit is units, just simply units. It's not squared because it's not covering a surface. Okay, so let's do a couple of these. We're going to find the area. So you're going to use the equations that you just learned, and we're going to plug our numbers in. So area is, so for number 1, I'm going to use, that's a rectangle, right? So I'm going to use area of a rectangle, which is A equals, I should have wrote that on there. Sorry. A equals length times width, right? And so if I'm looking at my length times my length is 8 centimeters, my width is 3 centimeters. I multiply them together to get 24 centimeters squared. Let's talk about number 2 now. Number 2 is, again, it's an area problem, right? So we're going to use our area equation. A equals S squared. And then what are you going to put in for the S? 2. A equals 2 squared. I'd like you to figure out what that problem is. And then make sure you have your units on it. Remember, those need to be squared. Okay, number 3, I want to look at. Number 3 is a triangle. And you'll notice that if we take this purple triangle that I colored in and write it over here, I have what kind of shape? A rectangle. So I'm going to use my triangle equation, which is A equals L times W. That's the area of a rectangle. And I'm going to divide that in half because I have 2 triangles in 1 rectangle. Okay? So I'm going to take my sides and I'm going to plug them in. One side is 6, one side is 9. It doesn't matter what order you put those in. It's okay. And I'm going to divide that by 2. So now I'm going to do my math. 6 times 9 is 54. 54 divided by 2 is 27 centimeters squared. Sorry, I had to fit it up here. All right? All right. Now, let's talk perimeter. Now, I've got numbers in here for my perimeter. Again, I'm going to use my equation. So what's my equation for number 1? It is P equals side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3. That's a 3. Okay, so what are my signs? 9, 11, and 5. So that would look like this. I would put my 9, 11, and 5. It doesn't matter what order you put it in. Okay, 11, 5, 9, just go in a circle. And then I'm going to add those together to get 25. Remember, my units has no square on it. It's simply a unit. Okay, number 2. Number 2, what's my equation going to be? P equals length plus width plus width, right? So I'm just going to add all those sides together. I'm going to write them down. 8 plus 8 plus 3 plus 3. I can also use my, so that's this, right? I also have that other equation, P equals 2L plus 2W. It doesn't matter which equation you use. This one is faster. It also is the one that you're going to use on the ACT and things. So when the ACT asks what the perimeter of a rectangle is, that's the equation they're looking for. Okay. So I have seen that. P equals times 8 plus 2 times 3, which is plug and chug, and we get 16 plus 6 equals 22, okay? So all I did was plug and chug there. Now, number 3 is a little weird. Number 3 is a little weird. We've got all kinds of sides, so we can label all those sides as being 3's because this is what's called a regular pentagon. It's got 5 sides, so it's a pentagon, and it's regular, meaning all the sides are equal. Okay, so if I was finding the perimeter of a regular pentagon, I would simply add all those sides up together. Well, what's fast adding? Fast adding is multiplication. So I would add all those sides up together, but I could do that more quickly by doing multiplication, which is why this equation here is faster than this equation here. Okay? So 5 times 3 is 15, and that would be my answer. Fantastic. All right. Let's look at something a little bit more complex. So number 5's got lots and lots of sides. I just need to add them up. So I want to look at my sides and I want to make sure that I put all of them down. So I've got 12, I've got 5, I've got an X, I've got a 6, I've got an X, and I've got a 5. So I've got all of those down, right? 12 is down, 5 is down, X is down, 6, X, and 5. Great. Okay. So now I need to combine like terms, and I need to add things up. So I have number terms, or constants, so I combine those. I also have X terms, so I'm going to combine those, and I'm going to get a 28 plus 2X. There's 2 X's here, and then this all added up to 28, okay? Number 6 is exactly the same. I'm going to look at what my sides are. I'm going to label them and write them down. So I've got my 2Y, I've got my Y, I've got my 7, my 10, and my X. Now, I need to combine like terms. Be careful here. You've got 3 different types of terms. You've got Y's, X's, and numbers, or constants. So when I'm combining those, I'm going to put my Y's together, right? It's like as if these go together, so those are both green. And then 7 and 10, they're constants. Those go together. And then I've got that lowly X over there. So I would like you to write down that answer, okay? What about when I have a word problem? When I have a word problem, I am going to draw a picture. I'm going to draw a picture. So here is my picture. Isn't it great? It's a rectangle because it says rectangle. Don't draw a square, don't draw a triangle, draw a rectangle when it says rectangle. Then you're going to label things. 4 inches on that side, 8 inches on that side. So if this side is 4 inches, what's this side? Also 4 inches. What's this side? Also 8 inches. Okay? So then I'm going to use my equation for perimeter. And I'm going to use that equation. And so I wrote down my initial equation. And then I wrote just the blanket, just the part that's always the same. And now I want to fill in these 2 things. What's my length? What's my width? Okay? So I did that with my length. Really, that's actually my width, isn't it? But it's okay. It doesn't really matter which order they go in. And then I'm going to multiply that. Well, I'm going to 8 plus 16. And then I'm going to get 24 inches squared. Okay? I would like you to do your area of this rectangle. Area equals, what's your equation for a rectangle, and what are you going to get? All right? Number 8 we will do in class because it's a triangle, and I want to talk about that one a little bit more fully. Number 9, let's talk about this one. So we've got the width of a rectangle is The length of a rectangle is 2x. The width of the rectangle is x plus 5. Find its perimeter. So I'm going to draw a picture, okay? My rectangle, drew a rectangle. My length is 2x, so that's normally the longer part, is 2x, right? It says length is 2x, okay? And my width is x plus 5. And that's why this x plus 5 is here and this x plus 5 is here. Okay, I'm finding my perimeter. Okay? I'm going to give you this part. P equals 2x, so all I did was list this 2x, plus this x plus 5, plus this 2x, plus this x plus 5. I want you to find the answer to this. So come with that answer done in class, and we will talk about it. God bless.